Well, good morning and welcome in to the Real Monica Adams Show. I hope you're having a great kickoff to your Tuesday. You know, one of the things that we mention on a regular basis is how I don't want you to wake up to the negative aspect of the world and the news. And what I'm doing for you now is hearing the things that are going on, the way I used to start your mornings and just taking and disseminating. You don't need that. You don't need that. You don't need that. Me and my team, when we get in here in the morning, we do the same thing for you. If you really truly want to hear everything that's going on in the world, then maybe you flip over and go back and forth between some of your favorite news stations, but always come back here because we want to balance that out. And then hopefully we're the last thing you hear before you head off to work or school or wherever you're running around for the day, or listen to some calming music, because truly what is around you is what you start drawing into yourself. So if all you listen to is the news, that's what I'm a little worried about. So we're trying to pull you away from that. If you're new to the show, and I want to welcome, we saw a lot of new people yesterday, a lot of new names. You know, we talked about my dear friend Brian McKenna, who lost his life over the weekend. And there were a lot of people that said, Monica, I know the two of you were super close and you had the same mission for the world, and that was to bring more kindness into play. And now that unfortunately that amazing voice is gone, I want to make sure that we continue the McKenna vibe. And whatever we can do for that, I've been asking for you to shoot me emails or direct messages. Let me know how we can carry that forward. I've got a lot of great ideas, and so have you. Thank you so much for those that have written so far. Let's keep that vibe going strong. We're going to give you some news you can use. There's not a lot that I think you really want to know about. There's a kicker story that we're going to talk about that's really, really crazy. And I want to have you drop some comments in about what this particular couple, and more so the guy, did in Tennessee. We'll give you some sports news. And then we're going to talk about a little love, life coaching, a keynote speaker, an author, and a wonderful human being that wants to help you. All of you, ladies, men, you need to listen to this as well. If you have daughters or sons for that matter, and they're struggling in the dating world, we're talking about people who are just starting out dating. Maybe you have been married, divorced, no shame, right? We're going to pull the shame away from you. Maybe you're widowed. Maybe you're just finally saying, I'm going to put myself out there in the dating market. Let's talk about some dating stories, some horror stories. There can be a lot of books written about this, but we're going to talk about one book in particular today from Stefani Seek. She's going to be my guest coming up right after our news you can use. Let's kick things off for those in our immediate area, what the weather looks like, and not with our aspiring meteorologist Beckett Moore, but I've got it for you from our friends over at First Alert 4. So today we do have the blues. They're going to be on our station, a Matrix. That is a sister station to KMOV. And I believe you get that through either Charter or you have to get a particular device for that. So if you want to watch the blues, it's the only station that it's on. 65, by the way, for a high for today. So if you are going to the game, shouldn't have any problems actually when you come out. No umbrellas needed, but maybe a little light jacket. It'll be 42 this evening. 66, really beautiful. I'd say tomorrow might be your pick day to get outside, maybe have lunch outside. 45 for the low. Now, here's the home opener on Thursday. It's the Cardinals, and you might want to bring a rain jacket. Now, according to the meteorologist, Matt Chambers over at KMOV, he said he believes the game will get in. He's going on record saying that. So we'll see opening day festivities, but a 40% chance of rain and storms for that. 70 degrees, 58 for your low. We get into the weekend, a late shower expected on Friday, but look at that high, 82, almost summer-like already. We go into Saturday and Sunday, more rain in the forecast, big time on Sunday. 78 on Saturday, 74 on Sunday, dropping down to 43. The Cardinals are in action, by the way, on Sunday, and so is St. Louis City SC. Monday, 58 for the high, and then we get into Tuesday with a little bit more rain. Wednesday, Thursday, highs 66 and 73, respectively. All right, starting off with news. For those of you that are parents, or maybe you watch children, you have a daycare, this is a story you need to know about. And I'm going to have Jenny drop in a link for you to tell you about the information that you're going to want to seek having to do with baby formulas. They are finding, Consumer Reports, harmful levels of contaminants in half of baby formulas tested. Consumer Reports actually testing 41 different formulas. They found harmful levels of contaminants. We're talking arsenic, lead, BPA, and many other things that are involved as well. So there is a link from Operation Stork Speed that Jenny's going to drop in for you to expand the quality and the safety of the infant formula. This is a day after Consumer Reports shared their test with the FDA. They will use all resources and authorities at its disposal to make sure this infant formula product is safe and wholesome for the families and the children who rely on them. But kind of scary, right? The FDA says it's going to increase the testing for the heavy metals, the other contaminants, and encourage companies to develop new infant formulas, clarify opportunities to help inform parents about formula ingredients. Again, look in the comment section whenever you see something from Jenny. It is to give you information that you need in the stories of the news you can use. All right, continuing on. This is the story that if we were in a newsroom, we would come back to the anchor desk and we would all give our opinions on this. So feel free to drop in, and I'm interested to see what you have to say. Please tell me you've never done this. You're eating. You say you want to get a free meal, so you take a piece of hair off of your girlfriend's head and you place it in the food. That's the top left picture. In the middle one, he's motioning for the waitress to come over. And in the top right one, they're having this discussion, all right? Well, this is in Overton County, Tennessee. The manager was called into play. The customer had concerns about the food, and it says, it looks like somebody pulled a wad of hair out of their head and placed it right on your plate. That's awful. So the manager did what any restaurant manager would do. He took the meal off the bill and he apologized. However, while the couple was getting ready to go, another restaurant customer told the GM the hair on the couple's food did not come from his staff. So what he did, he went to the surveillance video and showed the woman reaching behind her head, folks. Shortly after, the man reached over, grabbed what was there, the hair, and then allegedly placed it on the food. This is just a ridiculously bizarre situation. Here's the other crazy thing. After checking the surveillance video, they ran out the front entrance to confront the couple, and the couple was there. As they came around the corner, he was proposing to her on the side steps. And they just said, look, don't ever come back here again. Here's my thing. This is the part that I want to know. I hope she said no, because he's a cheapskate. Or they're or they're made for each other because they were in cahoots together. Isn't that bizarre? But these stories, by the way, go on all over our world, and we like to use the bizarre stories of the day. So I'd like to hear what you have to say about that. Please tell me you've never tried to get a free meal and do something like that. But yeah, hello? You do that, and then you walk out, and what the heck? Let me drop to a knee and ask you to marry me. Little strange. Cardinals fans, I know you're getting ready for the big game on Thursday. Well, there's some new things for you to look out for. We're talking new food, with new merchandise. I love the fact that they're incorporating what we see at St. Louis City SC games, and that is more and more local restaurants. The bobbleheads are always really big with a kid and adult alike. New hats, new giveaways, new plush toys for the children as well. And again, as I mentioned, look for more local restaurants from around the St. Louis and surrounding areas showcase there instead of just regular concession stand food. In fact, one of them is Mayo Ketchup, and that's the picture you're seeing there on the right. That's a place in Lafayette Square I've been to. Really cool kind of Latin American infused food. And then, of course, the wonderful chefs that they always have doing some of their latest wonderful food that they have as well. Speaking of the Cardinals, as I mentioned, their home openers coming up on Thursday, and then our Blues that we're keeping an eye on. They are fighting for that final wild card spot. And Calgary is hot on their tail, by the way. Calgary is in action tonight, as are our St. Louis Blues. So best of luck to the Blues. Again, on tap tonight, they're playing Montreal, coming off of a win over the weekend against Nashville. And in the National Day of Calendar, here's what's on tap for you today. We've got National Equal Pay Day. Yes. National Medal of Honor Day. Tolkien Reading Day, National Lobster Newburgh Day. Come on, that looks good. I don't care whether it's 7:10 in the morning or 7:10 in the evening. That just looks good. And American Diabetes Association Alert Day. So that is catching you up on what's going on in the world, a little news you can use, and some strange stories of the day. We will look at comments coming in from you. And like I said, please tell me you've never done anything crazy like that. All right. Richard says he needed the money to get the ring on a layaway. What a loser, Julie says, right? Good morning, Diane. Linda, good morning to you. Good morning to Jenny. Sean's back from vacation from Ohio. Fantastic. Again, if you just tuned in and didn't hear that crazy kicker story, let me know. Lisa says lobster all day long. Good morning. Yes, good morning, Julie Purcell. We like to say good morning to you. So wherever you're watching from, we are on Facebook and YouTube as we started a couple years ago. We added Instagram, also X and Rumble and LinkedIn. So if I don't get a chance to see your comment during the morning show, we will then look for hashtag replay, and then feel free to drop in comments because I can still get back with you after the show's over. All right, how many of you are dating? How many of you have given up on dating? How many of you are divorced, shaming yourself, have anger, or trying to get back into the dating game? How many of you have lost the love of your life? All of you. I don't care whether you're in your teens and 20s or all the way up. I don't care if you're a man or a woman. We're going to focus today on you. We have a life and love coach. She's a keynote speaker and an author, published 3 times. We're going to talk about her latest book. So you think about, where's your true north? Right? That's the question a lot of people have, like pointing you towards the love of your life. Well, we're going to talk about a compass aspect of this and an unconventional guide to the love that you're looking for. Stefani Seek will be my guest. She'll be in the white chair when we return.
Is so outdated and old. Can you help?
Let's take down this wall and add a support beam there.
Or just replace the furniture.
I love it.
New sofa, chaise lounge, and tables from Carol House.
What about this bedroom?
Let's tear down this wall.
Or a new bed, dresser, and accessories.
It's like a whole new room.
Get free in-home design, fast free delivery, and free financing too. Skip the remodel. Add new furnishings from Carol House for your new perfect room. Because you like nice things.
What's up, y'all? Steve Ewing over here, and I'm hanging out with Monica Adams on the Monica Adams Show. It was awesome to be able to come in here, talk about what we do, and really kind of have some positive things to say about our city, about St. Louis, all the really cool things happening here. Such a great environment here, and I love her energy, and I love the energy she puts into telling these stories about the really cool things happening in our city. Thanks, Monica, for having me on the show. This was amazing. I get to talk about all my good stuff, and you get to give them that energy, which I love. So thank you very much.
After 25 years of being in the corporate world and working, what made you want to be like, I'm going to be a love coach? So I'm just going to leave this.
Well, great question. So one day I was in a senior corporate role, and I looked across the desk at my executive, and she said, "Are you happy?" And I said, "I'm happiest when I'm coaching women and working with them and helping them. So no, I'm going to quit. I'm going to stop corporate America, and I'm going to follow what my intuition is saying." I'm the type of person you meet in an elevator and end up telling your life story to. So I thought, why not do this? Why not create this platform for women to empower themselves? We all want to be loved and seen. Yeah. And so my mission is to help women be loved and seen for who they really are.
This is so fantastic. I love the platform that you have for women to be open and vulnerable and can bring to you their problems and their heart. And you're like, hey, let me take that Band-Aid off and show you how to heal this.
Yes.
Let me show you how to fill in those cracks,
Yes.
And so that's very fundamental. And we need more people like you. And I appreciate you.
I appreciate you, Z. Thanks. Let's spread the love.
Well, thank you for joining me on the red carpet and giving me this wonderful one-on-one interview. You are a fantastic VIP. Make sure you guys go get Stefani Seek's book. I'm about to get this copy personally, so you can have it.
Right? We've got a lot of advice that we need today. Let's get the advice. I'm not going to give it to you. All of you in the community, you can feel free if you've been there. We all have. Feel free to drop any comments. Today, I hope you're really interactive, and the more authentic, that's what I'm all about. And the more real you are, the more you help someone else, older than you, younger than you. We're all in this together. Let me introduce my guest, Stefani Seek, as I mentioned, keynote speaker, author, love and life coach. Happy to have you. And I want to thank a mutual friend of ours that I've known since I was 15. So shout out to John Pusateri. How did the two of you know each other?
I used to be in technology sales.
Oh.
And John was one of my clients. So you
Okay.
just never know where life is going to lead you, right?
It's and St. Louis is such a small world, by the way. So, John, thank you for introducing me to Stefani. So, so you were in the corporate world for what, 25 years?
Yes.
And you said no more.
I did. You know, one day I looked across the table at my managing director and she said, "Are you happy?" I said, "No, I'm not. It's time to change." And
isn't that an aha moment?
It is. It really is. And, you know, I had made the commitment already to start living authentically. And when you start to do that, your situations change and new doors open.
It's huge. And I think that's one of the many reasons why the show's called The Real Monica Adams, because we want every guest and every person who watches to realize that when you truly show your true self, you'll realize people really do love you instead of trying to put on all the filters. And that's the whole thing about pictures. It's like, that's not what you look like. Why can't you just show us who you are? And then start showing the world your personality a little bit more. And you'll find out people really, truly love you instead of trying to be a version of yourself that's not real.
That's right. And, you know, we'll get into this about dating, but you want to show up as you because you want to attract someone who cares about you for you, who sees the real you. And I think deep down inside, we all just want to be seen for who we are.
Absolutely. Again, we've got her book on set. We're going to tell you where you can get the book. Now, you've had 3 published books, right?
I have.
What was your first?
My first was written for young women. It's called The Love Compass.
Yes.
So this one's Your Love Compass. That one is to help young women, ages 18 to about 26, find their authentic voice as they're first getting into relationships.
And so that was the girl's guide.
That was the girl's guide. Yes. Oh, thank you for putting
You're
it
welcome.
up. And, you know, that was inspired by, I have 3 daughters, and my oldest daughter was talking to her college friends, and they were asking me for love advice. And they said, "Could you put that into a book?" And that, you know, created the book. And I thought, if at least no one else reads this but my 3 daughters, I've done my job.
Exactly. I've affected their lives. But I love the fact that it is, yes, it could be for them, but it's also for mothers who are trying to help guide along, dads to also help understand, first of all, their young budding daughters, but then what's out there, what they're so protective of.
That's right.
Right. But then you get into, okay, let's get into the woman's guide. I want to make sure that I stress this, though, for all of you guys that are watching, this show is also for you today, because you need to know how we're wired, how we think, what we've been through, why we don't trust sometimes, why we have anger from past relationships. But so do you. So all of us can help each other together. Before we get deeper into the book and your experiences and those you've coached and celebrity interviews that are in here as well, what made you want to become a love and a life coach?
Well, I went through a journey of 2 marriages and 2 divorces by the time I was 44. And there was a lot of shame that came from that. Just to be like, how could I be successful in a corporate career and have great friendships and start these marriages off with the best of intentions? Because you truly do fall in love with somebody. And it made me step back and say, okay, what's my part in this? And so that launched me into the study of what makes relationships work, who we attract in the first place, and, you know, when do you stick it out and when do you decide it's time to go? And I had always been kind of a natural coach in corporate America. People would come to me and ask me for advice and coaching, and it all just converged around the time of COVID.
And the biggest thing, yes, you're right, Stefani, because more and more people started hearing life coach, not necessarily love and life coach, which is where I think she's really unique. But so many people were at home. They wanted to change or maybe be of service and have a mission, which I love. It's all about that helping side. And you're helping in a major way with regards to that. You use the word shame. And that is in anything that someone considers a failed relationship. How did you get over shame?
I did the work to realize no relationship is actually a failure. People come into our lives for a reason. If you're God-centered, you know that we're all connected. Yep. And when those people come in, they're a mirror for us. They help us see what we love about ourselves and what we might not be loving about ourselves. And so to work through that shame and guilt I had to realize, okay, these people were intended for me. These men were intended for me. There was goodness in that coming together. And I learned, I grew, I could appreciate them for what we had together and what we created. And then also, there's society's expectations. There's our religious expectations, family expectations. And being able to say, I'm going to listen to my true north, which we'll talk about as self-love.
Right.
And if you can really realize that you're created from love, that there is no reason for shame.
It's interesting. Again, if you're just tuning in, our guest, Stefani Seek, let's go ahead, put up on screen the information about her. That's where you can follow her on social as well as on her website, StefaniSeek.com, at Stefani Seek Coach. And then the link tree again, giving you all of her social and how to reach her. So you just mentioned the True North, and we talk about this on a regular basis, whether it's here on the show, with my clients that I train. It's always understand that no one around you can be okay if you're not okay with yourself, if you're not giving yourself self-love, looking in the mirror and how people just rip themselves apart first thing in the morning. That's literally how they're starting their day.
Yes.
And they can't find anything kind to say about themselves. And then they wonder, why is everything around them so chaotic, right?
Yes, you're spot on. For me, self-love, and for everyone, begins with how we speak to ourselves. What do we say in the mirror when we wake up? And in my book, I talk about some research that we think about 65 to 70,000 thoughts a day, and about 80% of them are negative. Negative. So just to have some grace for yourself.
Love that word.
When you're speaking.
Love
Yes.
that word. Again, find grace, have grace, and understand that perfection is a very dark thing that people try to always be. And once you take that pressure off of yourself, then it becomes, oh, okay, so you've been there. You've been there. That's why in the comments, I want you all to say, boy, I've been there. This resonates with me. See yourself in today's story. So the Girl's Guide, again, featured a little bit more towards teens and 20s. Who would you say that your love compass, a woman's unconventional guide to dating and relationships, is geared towards?
Well, this was the book I needed when I was going through divorce. But women will find especially, that we cover the topics of divorce. There's a beautiful story of a woman named Leanne in the book whose husband died unexpectedly in their 40s. We have women that this covers from age 30 to age 70. It is never too late to find love. So if you've gone through a major transition, divorce, death of a spouse, or a breakup, or there are plenty of women and men in their 30s, 40s who still haven't met the love of their life or what they're hoping to draw to them. So this takes an unconventional approach that mixes some practical dating advice with the work we do and our energy and who we draw to us.
Oh, energy. I love that. Again, and you know what? That's the thing that you talk about, Stefani, is picking up on those gut instincts. There's something, whether you and I both talked about, faith-based. You all know I'm very big into faith. And I always believe that there's so many whispers that will happen that we dismiss sometimes. Why, Stefani, as a love and a life coach, do you think we dismiss the gut instinct? Are we wanting it so bad to happen in such a perfect timeline?
Oh, you nailed it. Yes. And I use a car analogy. We're driving down the road and there are yield signs and stoplights, and we're just so excited to get to that beautiful destination. And for a lot of people in relationships, the destination might be marriage. It might be something very permanent. And we're so excited about that particular event and the end happening that we miss all the road signs along the way that might tell us if this is really the right match for us. And so both in the first book and the second book, I encourage everyone to really take the time to be curious, to lean in, to ask more questions instead of focusing on that Instagram perfect wedding picture.
Right. And then it's funny. I've never heard it put like that, but I like that because you think about driving along and you see a sign that says bump in a road, or you got to slow down because there's a curve ahead, right? It's all these things of whoop, whoop. You might want to miss this. You might want to miss that. Or you might want to pay attention a little bit more to all of these things. So again, we're talking about your dating life, you seeing yourself in this. So I have so many questions from the book, again, that she's experienced, that as I mentioned, so many of you may feel as well. But before we do that, I want to congratulate you because she just got back. So tell me about the Oscars gifting event.
It was a huge blessing. I had been in a compilation book. So one of those 3 books is a powerful book with this platform called 262 Women, produced by Deborah Drummond. And I was in that book. That was at the Emmys last fall. And I met the beautiful coordinator of the Emmys and Oscars celebrity gifting events. And she said, "What do you have for us?" And I said, "Well, I've been working on a second book." And thus was born Your Love Compass. And so it was during Oscars week. Celebrities are invited to these beautiful gifting events. And I got to premiere my book there. I gifted it to about 120 celebrities, media. And what shocked me was how receptive the men were to the book. They wanted to give it to a sister, an aunt, a daughter, and help them too. So it was really cool. I mean, celebrities are people too. They really are.
They are just like us. They put
Yes.
their pants on the same way. They put their clothes on the same way. We're looking at a ton of pictures from some of those events. And again, a lot of guys with big smiles on their faces saying, I'm going to help the women in my life. But of course, the women enjoying it as well. If you could wrap it up in a few things that they said, what was the takeaway from all of them that were gifted it?
Good question. It was, wow, this is real. This is authentic, especially in certain cities where dating feels very superficial and inauthentic. Authenticity was the word I heard the most.
It is, and it's going to keep coming back to that. And I love the fact that she stresses that. Richard said, I've been engaged 5 times. Thank you, by the way, for your real rawness. I've been engaged 5 times, married 3. I think I finally got it figured out, but I'm definitely listening to learn something new. Because what you always want, and Stephanie nailed it, is don't look at a past relationship as a failed aspect. It is, what did I teach them and they teach me? It goes back and forth. And then what can I pull from that to learn for the next relationship? And again, I'm so glad that you've put that out there, because there are a lot of people who kind of cringe, and you can see their body language saying, I've been divorced. Oh my gosh, I've been divorced again. Oh my gosh, I've been divorced again. And don't tell anybody. It's that shame. Shame, I have a feeling, is the one we're going to do for the devotional at the end, because we want to, don't we? We want to release people of shame and anger and resentment.
We do. And I'm bravo to Richard, because Richard is getting out there and he is trying in love. And a lot of people give up. So, divorces, multiple engagements, that's okay. What we're doing is we're exploring, we're looking for that resonance. I will share a story that might be helpful to Richard and other people in the listening audience this morning. I was coaching a woman in her late 50s who just got remarried. And we were talking yesterday, and she said, I'm a little worried. Like, what if I mess this one up? And I said, are you the same person you were 20 years ago in your first marriage? And she said, absolutely not. You have to trust that you've changed, you've grown, you've learned, and you're showing up in this relationship in a whole new way. So test yourself, make sure that when you react, because not every relationship needs work.
Yes.
Where we work at it every day, but test yourself for your reaction. Am I reacting as the old me, just because I'm used to those habits and that's just my muscle reaction? Or am I using everything I've learned to react to this situation and my partner in a more loving way?
And I'm going to be honest and authentic with all of you. And you all talk about, the relationship that I have with Jim. Obviously, he's on set here with us every morning. Yes, we are deeply in love. We've been through a lot. More so, he had been through a lot prior to coming into my life. And what you can feel is people are pulling things from past relationships a little guarded or a lot guarded because they think it's going to happen again. You see that a lot in your coaching?
I do. Yeah. People put up walls because they are expecting the repeated patterns. Yeah. But again, it goes back to how we speak to ourselves. And if you have to be disciplined. I don't love to say that relationships are hard work. For me, I think a relationship should feel joyful. It should feel fun. So I replace hard work with the word discipline. We just have to be disciplined in our thoughts so that we don't recreate the old energy, because that's in the past. Again, you are rising in, you're evolving. And if you have selected a partner that is excited about where you're going as a person and where you're going together, then you can create something new.
Well, and again, Stefani Seek is our guest, and I want you to look the book up, or the books that she's been involved with, whether it's the compilation, whether it's the Girl's Guide or the Woman's Guide, but use this. And if you're in a wonderful relationship, so what? You can still find things that will help you. I think we always can level up no matter what we are in life. life, relationship wise, love, professional, personal aspects of life. Stephanie says, that happened to me. I need this book. Right. And there's the book on screen again, where you can find it. Sindra says, life's about the journey, not the destination. Enjoy each step along the way and be in the moment. Good morning, Paul. I hope you're all having a great start to your day and that this helps you in your current relationships. Stephanie also mentioned this, and I think this is really powerful. In the book, she talks about what we need to own as well. So it's interesting how many people want to put the blame on those past failed relationships. It's all that person. But when you really sit with the thoughts and you're very present, you suddenly say, but what did I do to help and make it go wrong? And I think that's a really powerful thing for you all to think about, let it marinate. And then when you do that, you're owning so much of your life.
You are. And it can be painful to do that. We want to, as humans, avoid pain as much as possible. It's uncomfortable. But if you can just take a few hours to just sit with a blank sheet of paper and write down, okay, what are the things that I have been told by past partners that I do? Mm-hmm. There's probably a small element of truth to that.
That's true.
Or it's something we kind of knew we always did and it just got magnified. And when you can start to make peace with that and say, okay, I'll own that. Now what do I do? How do I heal that within myself so that I don't carry that forward into a new relationship?
Right. We're going to take a quick break. If you want to load up any questions or comments, again, A Woman's Unconventional Guide to Dating and Relationships. It's called Your Love Compass. You can also look for the other one. So if you've got young girls that are just starting, and how hard is that, by the way, for every parent when they're like, you're 13, you're already dating. You're 10, you're already thinking about this. And I know dads are like, nope, I'm going to have a shotgun waiting at the door. We're going to help all of you along with this. Again, her own experiences, that she's being real, saying, I've been there, I've been divorced, and here I am again. But you also have a wonderful relationship right now. She's a great cheerleader for her boyfriend. We saw a picture, by the way, of him earlier. Is he in a rock band?
He is. He has two bands. He has original band Freedom Man, and then 0 to 90 won the St. Louis A-List 2024 awards for the top cover band in St. Louis.
So when John Pusateri, thank you for introducing me to Stephanie. When I first was introduced, I started following you, and then I started going through, and then I clicked on him and then listened to some of his music, and I was like, oh, he's really, really good. So we need to support him as well. Go out and see him. Is there a website to follow his music?
Yes, you can go to, if you just look up Joe Anselm, Anselm, and 0 to 90 and Freedom Man, all on Facebook. You'll see their shows.
And then what you'll see is her support of him and vice versa. I mean, that's what we need to see more of, right? What does that person do for a living? We don't want to try to change them. We want to lift them up, be there for them, and hopefully they're our cheerleaders as well. Okay, we'll have more with Stefani Seek. Your questions, your comments. Don't go anywhere.
This lady got me in the best shape of my life. I literally didn't know that I could be in shape like that. But the amount that she pours into her clients, and especially whenever you get the one-on-one training, it's mind-blowing. I mean, it was really life-changing. I learned so much about proper form, about nutrition, about just being able to invest in myself. I hired Monica to be my personal trainer, which was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
We're asking about, yes, we're asking about being live. And I said, and welcome back to The Real Monica Adams Show. I'm your host, Monica Adams. This is The Real Stefani Seek. And again, she is an author 3 times. She is a keynote speaker. She was in the corporate world for 25 years. She's a love coach and a life coach, and is truly the mission aspect of just wanting to better all of us, bring us together. That's really the kindness that you see in anybody in a serving mission role. And that's exactly what that is. So all of you that are dropping in comments and being real, the more you do this, the more helpful it is for everyone else, so that you don't feel like you're so alone and somebody else says, oh, I've been there. Like Stephanie, she just said, Stephanie, I thought I had the right partner. We had 15 years together. And then she says, all hell broke loose. He passed away 4 years ago. But now she says, I sometimes think about all the things we did together. And he did teach me some things. As Stephanie was mentioning earlier, it's to look at the bad and the good and then learn from those and take the good ones forward. But when people ask you about the bad times, what can they learn from those?
Well, I love what Stefani said, and so wise of Stefani to be able to reflect and to look at what was the goodness. Sometimes the goodness is your children, right? Or sometimes the goodness is, I learned how to laugh with this person, or I grew in some way that I didn't know existed before. And to be able to appreciate that. So I use the word appreciation a lot with clients, and we go through appreciation exercises. Sometimes if you have been in a toxic partnership or something that was more abusive, because you might have listeners out there today who are thinking about that, it can be very tough to forgive. So we first have to start with forgiving ourselves, because sometimes the shame and the guilt come from, well, gosh, why didn't I see that? Or I remember he or she said that when we were dating, and why didn't I follow through on that? And we have to start with forgiving ourselves, and then being able to, if we can, move to forgiveness for that partner, and then land on appreciation. And it sounds like that's exactly what Stefani did.
You know, Stephanie, you just brought up something really powerful that I'm seeing around me in some friends. I'm seeing around in social media. There are podcasts popping up left and right of people that are in abusive relationships, whatever the abuse may be. And then they wonder why they stay. Why are they drawn to that? And then you have, of course, friends and family. They're like, this is so obvious. She or he need to get out of it. Why do they stay?
Right. Well, sometimes they stay because they're just used to it. I use the analogy with my clients of an old blanket. You know, that old blanket has carried you through. It feels warm. It feels comfortable. But then when you actually stand back to examine the blanket, there's holes. It's dirty. It's no longer truly the comfort that it started with. We stay in abusive relationships because it feels familiar. And, you know, this is where psychology starts to take over. But the stories that we had of how we were raised and what was modeled by our parents or our caregivers, what we accepted as normal, what we realized later on, well, maybe that wasn't normal. But it's very hard. And you can empathize when you know someone who's been through an abusive relationship, that to them, their world, as toxic or as sad as it could be, it's familiar. And you have to have the courage to break out of the familiarity and get help.
I've had people ask the question before, why do I keep attracting the same type of person? I'm sure you've heard that a lot in your coaching. What advice do you give to the type of person that they don't want to get the type of person they do want?
Well, you actually said it right there with what you don't want. We focus a lot on what we don't want when we go into dating. If you look at TikTok videos and Instagram, there is no shortage of supply of women and men saying, I don't want this. She better not do this. He better not act like this. And when we focus on what we don't want, we actually attract that. So we want to flip the script. And I find with most of my new clients, they have never actually written out not only what they do want, but more importantly, how do they want to feel? How do I want to feel in a relationship? And usually that's just the missing link. When we get really intentional about, you know, I want to feel cherished, or for me, I need to feel heard, and we focus on that, we switch the energy, and then we attract in a different kind of person.
What about, Stephanie, the people that we surround ourselves with? Friends and coworkers, people out bashing their spouses, their boyfriends, their girlfriends, their past, their exes, and that's all you're hearing. We have to break away from that, don't we?
We do, and that can be the toughest thing, because we have friends. Again, it's that comfort blanket factor that, you know, these are friendships that go back sometimes to elementary school, but we're hearing them speak language that's really not good for us. It's not in alignment. You know, we go out for margaritas with the girls, and they're talking about how bad the relationship is, or my husband does that, or, oh gosh, dating's terrible. Well, if you surround yourself with that language, you will believe that. You will be in that energy. So sometimes we have to put distance between the people that we love. Lovingly, we can do that. Sometimes we have to say, okay, I will empathize with your situation, but I will not take it on.
Right.
And put up a bit of an energetic barrier.
But what happens, and I know you've had a lot of experiences that you share in your books, for those that hear you try to flip the conversation to, well, look, you know what? It's not going to serve us at all to be sitting out here bashing the entire night long. Sure, sometimes you got to blow off steam, but if that is the topic of conversation all night long, and then you leave there, don't you feel like exhausted and then just drained? Can you find where you celebrate those that are actually in great relationships and then try to model yourself after that? Or do you see a lot of your clients say, whatever, I don't want to hear that they're happy because they just want to be in this miserable place at this point?
You know, it varies. I think a lot of people right now are lonely. I don't really see a lot of these conversations around the table happening. So sometimes maybe the more quiet person in your group that's listening to all the complaining, they might be struggling. And so I would say watch out in your community, your table of gals, even guys, when you're together and you're having conversations about the women in your life, can you be the leader to say, you know, understand you needed to vent, to blow off steam. We all do, because nothing's perfect.
Right.
But gosh, I really see that the two of you do this together, and how can we change that? Or how can we encourage our friend, if it's truly a bad relationship, to get some help?
Yes, help.
But recognize a lot of people are lonely. A lot of people are having these dialogues by themselves.
They are, and they need someone, but that's when we start to say, maybe you seek out, and this is the whole thing about finding a new hobby, or maybe you go to church, or you do a reading book, or you go in a running club, or whatever it may be. Finally, you start to find more positive energy around you, and watch what happens, by the way. We always talk about, watch what happens in your life when you start surrounding yourself with people that you're looking up to, or you want more of that, and you're drawing that more into you. Richard says, Stephanie, you should do an audiobook because your voice is very soothing and calming and relaxing. I was going to ask you, are
Thank
any
you.
of these in an audiobook?
My first book is for young women,
Okay.
The Love Compass. I'm working on that. So Richard, thank you for that.
Yes, she does. She's got a wonderful voice. Julie said, and this is back to Richard, to thank you for being real. She said, I'm also on my third, right? So now it's all coming out. The more everybody's being real, suddenly it's, oh my gosh. And you've all talked to each other, by the way, in this community for a long time, but you didn't know that you shared something in common that you can help each other with. Stephanie said, thank you. When I found out he was bipolar, diabetic, and didn't take care of himself, I knew he was sick. He abandoned me. I did forgive him. Oh, that's huge. I did forgive him for all he did, but I have a hard time forgiving my in-laws for what they did. And that's the whole process of going through and processing. Rose says, my ex-husband taught me a lot. What I didn't want, lots of hurt, but second time around, I find my forever love. 34 years in a few weeks. Congratulations, Rose. Are we perfect? No way, especially me, but we respect and enjoy each other and our lives together. No one should settle for misery and discontent. Rose says she has a professional voice. Stephanie said, I did start over and I'm happy now living my best life. See? So it's all of these things about being real, letting it out and saying, what can I learn? What can I learn? I have a client that I'm actually coaching right now, and she just said, boy, do I know how to pick a Monica. From her ex-husband, which there was a lot that they went through, but then it was the daughters watching that. Now she's fearful, as you mentioned earlier, that the daughters will repeat it, and she feels that one of the daughters is doing just that. And she's like, how could that be? It was so hard for all of us, including what she saw with her father. How in the world would you go out with someone like that again? Yeah. Familiarity.
It's familiarity. There's some level of subconscious comfort in that. And we also have to realize, I mean, I now have a 22-year-old, but it's my 12-year-old who dates the most. That they are their own person. And yes, as parents, we want to extend and say, but I've lived that lesson. I don't want you to experience that pain. But we have to recognize our children as their own human being and spirit. And they have to go through a journey too.
Absolutely. It is 7:45. We're going to take a quick break. Again, some interviews that took place when she was at the Oscar gifting event, and a lot of attention that came to saying, I want this book. This is my book. I need help with this. You can get your own book. Again, we'll put it up on the screen for you a couple more times before the end of the show, but you also might want to look into the one for your younger daughters. Again, the Girl's Guide, but the compass aspect, and we mentioned it earlier, it's worth repeating again. Your true north is your own self-love. You become more introspective of who you are. Do you love who you are? Let alone like who you are. You got to start somewhere and then watch what happens with every relationship. And I know we're talking about romantic relationships, but this goes with all friendships, with professional relationships, that you just seem to level up a whole nother level. Any other questions, comments, drop them in. Let's be real together and let's help each other. Don't go anywhere. More with Stefani Seek when we return.
Discover your full potential with a personalized styling experience. Designing, customizing, and transforming the looks of men and women. Revamp your individual style and embrace what makes you, you. That's real confidence.
Carroll House is now the contemporary furniture design center.
We now have the largest selection of the latest ultra-modern furniture.
Sleek European designs, unique metals, bold lacquers, plush fabrics, and retro styles.
Modern furnishings with exclusive collections only at Carroll House.
Plus free financing, free delivery and setup, and free in-home design.
Visit the St. Louis Center for Contemporary Design inside our 3.5-acre showrooms at Carroll House.
Because you like nice things.
Create beautiful gardens and landscaped areas with everything you need at Hoffman Hillerman Nursery and Florist. A great selection of outdoor and indoor plants, gardening items, landscape materials, lawn and garden equipment, and much more. Hoffman Hillerman Nursery and Florist.
Ooh, let's go there tomorrow. Come on, seriously. Just drive out 44, go to 100, and join me tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock. Hoffman Hillerman Nursery. Yes, the weather is starting to change. In fact, my mom was saying the other day, she put a bunch of fertilizer down and got nature's gift from God of the rain, right? And that just helped out everything. If you don't have a green thumb, then that's really why you want to come over to this. They have the coolest thing, these potting bar private classes for two. I mean, look, these cute little geraniums that you can make in a jar, just a fun little piece that you can put on the table. If you truly don't even know where to begin, that's what they're there for. Or you just browse around and say, wow, these are the most beautiful plants and flowers I've ever seen. Thank you, by the way, to Kim and Don and the group at Hoffman Hillerman Nursery for sending over one of the most beautiful bouquets of flower that I have ever seen, and they smelled amazing. So yes, tomorrow morning, keep in mind, we will not have a 7 a.m. show. We will instead be there at Hoffman Hillerman Nursery, and I would love for you to join us at 10 o'clock tomorrow morning. Welcome back, The Real Monica Adams Show. We've been getting real, and so have you, and I love it. Again, the more interactive you are, the more we see those comments coming in, the more we say, wow, we're more alike than we thought. Men and women alike. This book that we're talking about is for everyone. And I know you're hearing us say women, but it's guys as well. And I love the fact that Richard is saying, yeah, I need some of this advice. Stefani Seek, again, keynote speaker, author 3 times over, life and love coach. This one we're talking about is Your Love Compass, a woman's unconditional guide to dating relationships. And again, we're talking about 30s, 40s, 50s, divorced, trusting again, widowed. Wow, isn't that a hard one? Because there are some people that were blessed, and I use that word a lot, of their love of their life. Maybe it was when they were very young, or maybe they found that person later in life, and then they feel that they are now damaged because how will they ever find that again? So you do a lot of coaching with so many different people. How do you help them? There's a couple questions here. How do you help them trust again that they can find, it's not replacing that love, but find love again, and also not feel guilty, because we used the word shame earlier, but not feel guilty that they are moving forward, not moving on, moving forward.
Right. Well, it felt to me that this book would be incomplete without addressing that subject, even though I personally have not had that experience. But the women I spoke to who have lost a spouse unexpectedly, they wouldn't have been able to fathom falling in love with someone else, that first year or two after the loss. But what it does tell you is that the evidence is there that you are worthy and deserving of love, and your soulmate, and I think we can have several, has passed on physically. They are no longer physically with us. Spiritually, I believe that they are. And that it's okay, because while you're in this human body and human experience, it's okay to want to have companionship and to be able to express love with and through someone else. So the women I spoke to, they had to go through the period of grief. They really had to grieve and just be able to wake up the next day and be joyful again. And they realized over time, that person, that man, that woman, their love is still with me, but they would want me to have companionship.
Do they feel like they need permission, though, before that person goes to say, I want you to? Like, I almost think that helps them, even though they'll say, no, there's no way I can't ever find this love we've had together. But if they're told, you have to, I will be happier guiding you from heaven to see that you are happy again. But you also mentioned, I think this is key. So you heard Stefani say a year after, 2 years after, there are some people, and it doesn't matter the age. I don't care if they're young or they're older, or they're 60, 70s, and maybe they're dating at 80. They've lost the love of their life. And then all of a sudden they say, I can't be alone. And you hear a lot of people say that this happens to guys more than women, that they date right away. And then all of a sudden it's all judgment around them. That's what's hard. But how is it our place to ever say when it's time?
And we can't. Because that person is going through an experience that is unique to them. Yeah. I do find that for women or men who've been widowed, the permission usually comes from their children. They really want to make sure their children are okay with it. Yeah. But again, back to the earlier part of our conversation about fast forwarding to marriage. When we're older, we don't necessarily have to get married. It's okay to date for the companionship and just to find someone that you don't even need to live with necessarily, but that you know that person's there and they see you and they love you.
Well, and it's also that timeline. We started doing a segment called Generational Talk or Gen Talk. And so I went around and I talked to all of these hairstylists that were at the place where I get my hair done. And I said, hey, let me talk to all of you girls. So one was 19, like 21, 23, 25, 27. And one of them said, I would like to say this, because what we're trying to do is pull generations together, right? So that's the other part of what I love about your book is the teaching aspect of, if I only knew this when I was in my 20s or 30s, if someone would have helped me along with this. And for her, she said, I wish there wasn't a timeline. I wish your generation would see. And I laughed and I went, it's always been there. It's always been showing up at Thanksgiving or Christmas and, are you getting married? Oh, now you're engaged. When are you having kids? Right? There's so much pressure in life.
Oh, there is. And I really talk about that in my first book for younger women, because we feel the pressure maybe because of what our family constructed. And there's nothing wrong with that. That was beautiful and perfect for that time. But as we evolve, and especially the marriage age has shifted, to go to that family reunion at the age of 22 and the first question is, well, who are you dating? Are you going to get married? That can feel incredibly defeating for a young woman or a young man when they're just trying to figure out, what's my voice in this world?
Right.
It's okay to take some time to figure that out.
Don't you all love that? It's okay. And it's okay. It's all those things. You got to tell yourself it's okay. Again, if you're just tuning in, I know a lot of you pop on left and right. We're talking with Stefani Seek. You see the book here on set. This can be yours, and I want you to get one for yourself. Again, as I mentioned, if you've been through traumatic aspects of relationships, and some people say, I'm never going to trust again. It's the hardest thing to try to find that. Again, at Stefani Seek Coach online, you can go to the website, StefaniSeek.com. You mentioned also, Stefani, the aspect of people pleasers and how hard it is to find your voice. I think it happens to both sexes, but do you think it's more women?
I think so. And I want to convey this point. I'm so glad you asked about people pleasing. When we people please, we're over empathizing. We are putting ourselves so in the shoes of that other person. We're actually taking responsibility for their thoughts, their actions that we have really no right to do. So whenever we overextend ourselves into people pleasing, we don't ask the questions. We don't get curious when we're dating or even in our relationships that we're still evolving and growing, because we assume, we think we know how they'll react. Or if I ask this question, then he might be mad at me, or she might be uncomfortable if I ask this. And we're way over empathizing, worried too much. And then that's when we start to suppress our own voice. And that's where the relationship, especially in dating, starts to veer off in the wrong way. Because if we people please our way through dating, at some point, we both wake up and say, hey, this is the real you, this is the real me. And we've led someone to believe that we're someone other than who we truly are.
I'm going to share something that I don't know that I've ever shared on the show before. I'm going to share it with all of you. I'm going to share it with Stephanie because it's something that I used to talk about when I was dating. And I almost wanted to write a book a long time ago called 3 In or 3 Out, which I'm going to get to in just a second. But Stephanie, let's hear from you first. My mom's friends used to say that to me and my sister. We were enjoying our life. We said, when we're ready, we will get married. Yes, which, by the way, Stephanie, congratulations for having a voice and being able to speak that to mom or whoever to say, look, you live your life, I'm living mine. Let me be in my space. Okay, so here's my theory. Ready? So since you are a love coach and a life coach, I believe that when someone meets someone, they're giddy about it, or they're extremely nervous, shy, introverted. They may be an extrovert, but they become so withdrawn. And so first date can either be that they are trying to be someone they're not, or they are completely scared. Okay. So then but there's something that's intriguing you. So you go out on a second date. Now, second date, they're going to show a little bit more of who they are, but still might be a little bit guarded. And you might be like, oh, well, this is a little bit different. So you decide to go to a third date. By that third date, do you agree that they are starting to show more and more and more of who they are? At that point, you are agreeing to say, all right, I'm going to stick in this for a little while longer. Doesn't mean it's for forever, but by 3 dates, I think there's a lot that can be told. That if you met that person in the beginning and they were like so ridiculously shy and introverted, and you're like, I don't know, I'm looking for something different. And then all of a sudden 2 and 3, you start to see that they're trusting, right?
Yes.
That's the hardest thing, is for us to trust, because it's so foreign and so new, and you're trying to get to know that person. But I used to say 3 in or 3 out. What do you think about that?
I like that. I think there are definitely first dates where you know for sure after the first date, because there's not a chemistry. Okay, so it is okay after a first date. I did that a few times. This is just not going to be a match. But if there's something there, like you said, if there's something after that first date that causes you to be like, okay, I like that 3 date mark, because I really think by date 3, you know if you want to continue having this conversation.
What about the people, and I don't want to say you're a serial dater, but the people who are out there, and don't shame yourself, by the way, if you are, I still hear people when I say, well, where'd you meet? Did you meet online? Did you meet through a social club? Did you meet by somebody introducing you? And still I don't want to tell anybody we met online. Really?
Online, okay, so I talk about it in the book. The statistics are much higher than the media and the news would lead you to believe. And that's why I love Monica, because her news is positive. And it's a much higher statistic. It's around 60% of adults find a meaningful relationship through social media. I met my guy, Joe, on Facebook dating. I didn't
know that was a thing, Stephanie.
A lot of people don't.
I know, that's what I'm hearing. No, but I'm hearing more people tell me that. And I go, where is it, by the way? Where is Facebook dating?
So if you go to your Facebook app on your phone, along the bottom of your homepage, there's a little heart and it says dating. And you actually click it. It will not connect you to your profile that's only shared with friends and family.
Okay.
You create a new, Facebook recognizes you, but all your information is kept private, and you can put your pictures, your comments. I had deleted all my dating apps. I had deleted Bumble and Hinge. I needed a break. And then late one night, I was like, well, I'm alone. I'll just look and see who's on Facebook dating. And sure enough, there was my guy.
And how long have you two been together?
We've been together now for a little over 4 years.
4 years.
But
there he is. And your doggy.
Oh, and my dog. Well, he spent 15 years in LA and came back during COVID. We met on Facebook dating, and within 30 minutes of messaging, we found out we were in St. Louis in the same choir when we were kids.
See?
Yeah,
Small
you
world.
never know.
No, I love it.
You never know.
And again, she's talked about this. And if you just tuned in and you didn't hear, so when people hear about someone that they say, look, she's so together, she's beautiful, she's got the soothing voice, she's in the corporate world, she decided to go out and leap and become a love coach, life coach, an author. That's when they look, and it's all about perception. I can't wait to do my show on perception. I want to do so bad. But they will look at you and say, she hasn't had to deal with anything. She just told you she has been married and divorced twice, but she believed that she could find love again. And 4 years later, you have.
Yes. There was a lot of pain and growth and tears and sadness that happened, throughout that evolution. We all do. A common experience is that we all share pain as humans. And it's the courage to get up again and say, I'm going to try this. people are going to look at me like I'm crazy that I'm, going for another relationship. Your family, your friends, everyone has an opinion. Your colleagues, everyone. You just have to at some point not care about the opinion.
Absolutely. And just be into what you want and sometimes just push them away. And we mentioned it earlier. Sometimes you might have to step away and say, right now, we're not good for each other because I have to go at this alone. And I've got to learn this. I've got to go through the struggles. If, however, someone's in harm, then yes, please stay with them or somehow get them to be able to have some help and hopefully maybe get them away from that abusive relationship. That's a very difficult thing. It's a hard talk, but I know you love them and I know you want to help them with that. We could go on for hours. I can feel this. This is a topic that as soon as John asked me, hey, would you like to have my friend? I was like, oh my gosh, absolutely. Because we all need help in this. And I mentioned whether you are in a wonderful relationship, you can always level that up another notch, right? Stefani Seek, again, I want you to get her book, Your Love Compass, or you can get the first one that we had talked about. This one's a woman's unconditional guide to dating relationships. The first book is The Love Compass, Girl's Guide to Finding Authentic Love. And it's all to help you out and to get you into that best relationship moving forward and know, most importantly, that you deserve that. Helping others get the aha moments in life. And don't dismiss the gut feeling, by the way. We mentioned whispers. I always say, Stephanie, sometimes the whispers turn into a smack in the face that then turns into a punch in the gut. And then you're like, oh, I should have listened. Thanks, Stephanie. I'll have to buy a few of your books for some friends and yourself, right? My ex didn't show the real him at first. I thought he loved animals, but he killed my little dog by throwing her down a flight of stairs. Again, see, that's the abuse I'm talking about. That's a whole nother Monica show. Yes, it is. My dog picked out my second husband. So I'm glad that you just said this. Trust the animals. I have always said that. And I'm glad you just brought that up because I thought of this when I was reading the book and I didn't want to forget. So thank you. You just let me know because I think that's a God wink that when Jim came back into my life, I introduced him to my dog, Kaylee. She jumped on and gave him the biggest hug. There were two other guys that I had brought to the house. And I mean, here's a personality of a dog that's loving everyone and was like growling. And I'm like, pick up on what they're children and animals we need to pay attention to, don't we?
They read energy. They just do naturally. And the same thing happened with my rescue Chiweenie, Annie. She was the new love of my life because I had gotten divorced and adopted her. And then she met Joe and then I was chopped liver. So trust the animals.
Speed dating used to be a huge way to meet people. Right. I think that's back, by the way. I think I saw that. Again, don't ever have shame for the way that you have met someone. Let's see. Stephanie said, my mom's friends used to say that to me and my sister. We were enjoying our life. Again, we'll get married when we're ready. It's also the fact that maybe you're not meant for marriage, and that's okay as well. Yes. Right? The whole pressures of getting married. Yes, Michelle, I actually thought of that the very first time I looked at her page. So Michelle said, wow, your boyfriend looks like a movie star. Johnny Depp. Has he ever been told that?
He gets that a lot.
That's exactly what I thought right away. And I'm like, is she dating Johnny Depp? I mean, look, yeah, I had a feeling. I was like, does he get told that or other things? Well, he looks like a rock star also, which he is. Stephanie, you are a pleasure. I am so glad that we had this time together. And for all of you, I look forward to you getting the books and then coming back and reaching out to she and I. If you didn't get a chance to watch the whole show live, go back. And again, you're going to find pieces of it that are really going to help you move forward. And then do the biggest thing that we ask you to do, which is to share like crazy. Share this with your family, your friends. Maybe you buy the book, as Rose had said earlier, for some friends that, maybe they don't want to listen to you, but maybe they'll listen to Stephanie. They'll take the guidance from someone who works with people on a regular basis to help them find that. So we end every show with a devotional. Okay, so I said maybe it's shame, but I'm gonna let you pick. So one of them is 100 Days to Freedom from Fear and Anxiety. One is depression. One is shame. One's anger. And then the one that's overeating doesn't just feel today. So which one of those would you pick?
I think we should pick shame because I think if we release that and just realize we are worthy of the best kind of love, then it can transform your life.
All right, that's it. So we're going to do 100 Days to Freedom from Shame when we return.
Well, hello, my friends. My name is John O'Leary. I was just on the Real Monica Adams show, and it was an amazing experience for me and hopefully for the viewers and listeners as well. What I found sitting down with Monica is the idea of being real is maybe something we use for social media or website or to separate us from others, but it may not be something you experience very often in the real world. Today, Monica was extraordinarily real, not only with me, but with our viewers and our listeners. And through her authenticity and through her honesty and vulnerability, I followed. It was an incredible conversation. We were real about struggle, real about life, real about endurance, real about family, real about faith, and real about the truth that the foundation is firm, that God is still God, that there's reason for hope, and that the best is yet to come. So for those of us who occasionally struggle with being real or being filled with hope or being renewed in a season of struggle, I can't tell Monica and her viewers, listeners, and producers thank you enough for allowing me to be real during the hour together. So for this time, and until next time, my name is John O'Leary. Today is your day. What a gift it is. Live inspired and stay real.
What a great show. I knew it would be, but it really was a whole nother level. And I'm hoping you got a lot out of it today. And also not just for you, but thinking about your friends that are around you and your family members and how you can help them out. We're going to tell you, by the way, how you can schedule a meeting with Stefani and how she can help you along. Again, if you're seeking beyond the book, maybe a coaching session with her, love and life coaching, we'll give you that information in a second. Stefani chose the 100 Days to Freedom book from shame. I felt that one all along. These are our daily devotionals from our friend Stephen Arterburn. So this is called Rinse and Repeat. So he went to pray a third time, saying the same things again. This is Matthew 26, verse 44. Rinse and repeat, common idiom that we use when trying to impress on someone the importance of repetition. It's a saying that pokes fun at shampoo manufacturers who put the instruction on their bottles: lather, rinse, and repeat. The joke is that if people actually followed those instructions, they would end up washing their hair over and over and over again until they finally ran out of shampoo. But in some areas of life, rinse and repeat is good advice. In today's verse, we see Jesus praying a third time and saying the same things he said the first two times. Clearly, he was a believer in praying the same prayers repeatedly. Paul must have been too, though, because he instructed us to never stop praying. That doesn't mean to keep praying 24/7, but to never give up on a prayer just because it isn't answered. That's a good one. But in other areas, the rinse and repeat approach can be counterproductive or even harmful. You might be scratching your head. Well, why? Well, binge watching questionable TV shows, constantly obsessing over social media, compulsive shopping. We talked about the abuse earlier, the addictions, or even overworking day after day can cause you to lose sight of what's truly important right here in front of you. Reflect on the reason you're battling shame right now. Could it be that the seeds of your sin were planted in the soil of some habit or pattern of behavior that was unhealthy? If so, have you ever made the correction? Now, if you feel sorry for your sin, you're trying to do better, you must establish new, healthier habits if you want to avoid similar failures in the future or things that you see as a failure. Robin Dance said, only when a hamster steps off his wheel can he actually get anywhere. Otherwise, it's that hamster wheel we all talk about. So here's your prayer for today. Dear Lord, touch my eyes that I may see the deeper reality of what I'm doing with my time. Help me to not waste it, but to invest it in those things that are going to bring me closer to you. Good one. Good one, Stephanie. Glad you picked that. So let's put up on the screen again. You can book a consultation, a one-on-one with Stefani, and there's the form. You've got an exploratory call with Stefani Seek, again, life and love coach, and you can go straight. Everything's so easy these days, right? I'm just going to book this with her. How long is that?
It's 45 minutes.
Okay. And it's easy. So they can do this on your website?
Yes, they can. So just click into it, and I think it might say 30, but I build in time because it takes a lot of time for people to tell their story and to
Boy, does
through
it. Yes. And you don't want to just rush them through it. You're like, wait a minute. But you can feel that they're trying to heal.
Yes.
So one more time, we'll put on the screen where the website is, how you can find her on social, her link tree. Stefani, make sure you spell it correctly. It's Stefani, StefaniSeek.com. And when was the last time you invested in your own needs? Think about that one for a while. At Stefani Seek Coach. And before we wrap up, can you tell everybody what your motto is? Because I love this.
You can always change your mind. You know, we think that we can't. Sometimes we think, well, this is the life I picked. And you change your mind by actually changing your thoughts. Speak to yourself differently. If you're having a challenge, just say the opposite. You know, if the day feels hard, say, I embrace today.
Embrace today. Your love compass, your true north is finding your self-love. Stefani, thank you so much.
Thank you for having me, Monica. This was great.
Absolutely. And to all of you, thank you so much for watching. Again, share this with all that you know, and make sure you're always clicking follow and subscribe. It does not cost anything. It simply means that you'll get a notification when we have other wonderful guests on like Stefani. If you think that you have the same mission as we do, which is changing the world together with positivity, reach out to me at info@TheRealMonicaAdams.com. Let me know you or another guest that you think would be great for our show. Remember, tomorrow morning, 10 a.m., Hoffman Hillerman Nursery in Washington, Missouri. Come on out. If you can't, absolutely can't, then be sure to be watching and then share that show with someone else as well. Believe in yourself. Love yourself. We always talk about being kind, but first and foremost, you got to be kind to yourself. Kindness goes a long, long way. God bless you all. Have a beautiful day.